Oh yeah, those are my favorite.
To bring in the JRPG vibes.
I think I said before that liquid metal slime is my spirit animal. Like if I can appropriate that bit of culture.
That's why I have my fox here with me. I had to bring a mascot in, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I've got my lunars hanging out with me.
Oh yeah.
Upon the chesticles. I'm sorry.
That is where that is.
Why did that make me laugh so much?
I know, I'm sorry.
Because your guys' humor is that of a 5-year-old boy.
Of a 5-year-old boy. No, that's at least age 10. That's at least age 10.
Hi there, and welcome to the JRPG Pursuit, a podcast for all things JRPGs. I'm Emily.
I'm Brandon.
And I'm Abdallah.
And today we wanted to talk about the classics and why classic JRPGs just still hit so hard. I think as we kind of, move into modern gaming and have more expansive worlds and just a lot more budget, when it comes to gaming, I think a lot of us still look back towards the classics and we kind of question, have JRPGs improved? And are they better than before or not quite? Right? Because I think we've done episodes on nostalgia and, those type of topics. But I think whenever you think of a JRPG, a lot of us, like the first game that pops in our head, right, is something classic, not usually modern. What do you guys think? Do you think the classics, like there's still something special about the classics that will never maybe be surpassed? Or what do you guys think?
I think that you can't discredit nostalgia as part of it, right? That's always going to color our perception of older games in at least some way. Glasses. But there are elements, and I think we'll get into them in this episode, but like there are elements of classic JRPGs that are just not as present or prevalent in modern JRPGs for a lot of different reasons. And it can, like, depending on your preference, right? Like you might prefer those elements that were present in the older games for a variety of reasons. So I do think there's something to that.
Yeah, there's some charm, right?
Yeah.
That sometimes you don't quite see as realized maybe in modern JRPGs.
Right.
Yeah. And it's interesting enough, like there's also like the other side of things, like when you think of it, of people who are like recently I saw someone was talking about like their top 10 games, like top 10 JRPGs and whatnot. And a lot of them were more modern games. And then one of the comments under that is like, oh, recency bias, like final boss. And like, and that's a thing as well that I think about is like, a lot of people's experiences, like, they grasp onto like most recent experiences. There's a sense of nostalgia. You have like one or two games that are like the nostalgic games. And then a lot of it's going to be like the games that came out in the last like 4 to 5 years. So like there's like interesting balance there.
That's interesting. Yeah. Like when we, I think we're talking about the IGN top 25 JRPGs of all time list. Yeah, a lot of those were classics, right? But there was also some interesting modern, titles that were up higher than we would have expected.
Exactly. Yeah. Where it's like when you look back at it, like maybe now you're like, okay, like I don't know why that would be in the top like echelon of JRPGs, but you can see how somebody would maybe take that as like, I just played that.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. There's also generational differences, right? Because we can't, like as Brandon said, we can't like erase nostalgia from the equation.
No, exactly.
A lot of us, grew up with JRPGs or had some very, during our formidable years, experienced some sort of JRPG that impacted us in a great way. And sometimes, modern players, especially if they did not grow up in those eras, they are able to go back to them in, various ways. I think a lot of the remakes, remasters have made that more accessible than ever. But not everyone, chooses to do that.
Yeah, I think a good way to kind of get a sense for how good a classic game really is compared to modern games is for somebody who didn't experience it in the moment to go back and give it a try. It's sort of like, it's like with movies, right? If somebody born in, after the year 2000 watches a movie, they're much more likely to watch a more recent movie. You know, if they were to go back to the 90s, 80s, 70s and before.
Like Casablanca, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they're less likely to see that. Like I've never seen Casablanca. You know what I mean? Like
Before my time.
And I understand it's considered a classic, but like, do I consider it one? Well, I've never seen it. Right. So,
you haven't?
You know, no, I have not.
I recommend it for atmosphere.
Really? Okay.
Really, yes. It's a little boring, to be honest, but there's something like atmospheric about it that just feels timeless.
Is that the one that he says, "Here's looking at you, kid"?
Here's looking at you, kid. It's at the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're in Morocco. You know, it's like an interesting kind of war movie, but not quite. I don't know how to describe it. It's interesting.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of like, you know, Night of the Living Dead. So George Romero, like for a lot of people, that is like a very classic, you know, horror flick.
Horror movie, yeah.
Like, and as like, let's just say as a young person, maybe you're coming into, you know, watching these movies and you're like, oh, everyone's always talking about this. And then you watch it and then it's like, it's just very much a product at the time. You know, it's not using any, like, you don't have any graphics or, you know, there's no like, you know, anything that makes it like realistic.
Yeah.
It's very like campy in that like old school black and white way. So like it might not, I guess, resonate the same way for some like a younger person who maybe isn't like a film nerd, maybe let's say.
Yeah. Well, that's a good
way.
point. Yeah, that's a really good point because like I didn't see The Exorcist, for example, until I was like in my late teens or was it early 20s? I don't know. I was much older. And obviously that movie came out in the 70s? Like
I think it was the 70s.
Pretty old.
Yeah. Old, yeah.
So like when I saw it, I remembered hearing or reading that people like were throwing up in the theaters and were having like fits and like were so terrified. And I watched it having seen, in my opinion, were much more horrifying movies. Yeah. I've poisoned my mind pretty thoroughly. I watched The Exorcist and I was like, oh, what? I don't know. It's
fine.
I guess.
It's fine.
It's a different time.
Like
it's definitely a different time. And you know, those limitations that a lot of those moviegoers or filmmakers they had to, I think, show horror in a way that, you know, didn't rely on realism.
Right.
It was mostly psychological, right?
Psychological, like things unseen off camera, the implications
which sometimes can be more
of things,
horrifying
which
than
can
seeing
absolutely,
the actual thing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Like your imagination does a lot of work. And your imagination is always going to be better at coming up with things
Do you think
than
there's
any
been
director
like
is.
a desensitization? Like we're just desensitized. Like when instead of like we have to be fed certain imagery or something for us to be more captivated by it. We relate this more into you know, JRPGs too, right? Like some people they like the more realistic graphics because it seems more, you know, real to them. Like let's say Expedition 33, even though it's very stylish still, they still, you know, had like skin with like pores in them, right?
Right. Yeah.
So they were able to relate to those characters because they seemed real.
Skin with pores and human-sized eyes. Yeah, I mean that's important for some people. Yeah, no, I definitely think that there are, especially people that have grown up with more modern gaming and have not delved into like anime-inspired JRPGs
or pixel
graphics. They're going to, I would assume anyway, feel an affinity towards that more realistic style. Like,
that was their first exposure, maybe, or
that's human nature,
more familiar,
right?
Their nostalgia, which will be
their own personal nostalgia.
Yeah, because like I feel like, you know, looking back at our nostalgia coming from 16-bit, but even if you like grew up in, let's say, the PS1 32-bit era, like I mean, we've talked about it before with the Final Fantasy VIII scene where it's like you're the most beautiful person in the
You're the best looking guy here, and it's just like a horrifying mass of blurry pixels.
It's like a lot of imagination has to be set there, and so like, you know, seeing the change from that to like today is a huge thing. And then there's like, you know, the generation that grew up with like the GameCube or the PS2 era or the Xbox like One era. It's like, there's a drastic change between those eras, but it's still like there was like a realistic aspect to those games that you can still kind of. It's almost the same portrayal. It's just like more the fidelity is like higher now. So the shift isn't as large as, let's say, when people who are from like the PS1 or the 16-bit era is. seeing that. So
Yeah, I could speak
Yeah.
as someone, my first home console was the PS2, and I didn't buy PS1 games because I was like, okay, well, modern games were probably better because they're graphically look better, right? So I should just play those. Like, they've learned from the past. I don't necessarily need to go backwards. How wrong I was, right? When it comes to some of the storytelling and things like that. I think you grow a greater appreciation sometimes for older things as you get older, right? Like we were talking about older movies. Like I started watching those like in high school and through college, and there was definitely like a more academic kind of lens I'm looking at them, because you have to, distill your belief. Like, okay, this was done, 40 years ago or beyond. And they don't have, the modern technologies we have today, but for the era, like, it's very impressive and you can appreciate that.
Yeah. And I know, and I know I've said it before in this podcast. I'm sorry for repeating myself, but I really think the river metaphor is really good for game design and for any art form, really. Okay. But game development is a river that is constantly moving downstream. And if you at the where you are now in the modern world, if you want to go back and enjoy an older game from like the 16-bit generation, you have to put in some effort. You have to swim against the current to get back there. But if you are willing to put in the effort, whether that be suspending your disbelief or getting used to a graphical style that is not your preference or whatever, you can still enjoy those games. It just takes a little more effort than, I think you said earlier, Emily, like, things are kind of presented to you a little more straightforwardly now, to paraphrase what you were saying earlier, like just presented to you a little more in a straightforward manner, because we have the capability of doing that now. We can make characters look realistic. We can make, the worlds look photoreal and stuff.
They could just set markers of where you're supposed to go in this game.
Right, even just in terms of like ease of play, right? Like you go back and play an older game and it's like, where do I go? I'm unaccustomed to not knowing where to go.
And not having to buy, the strategy guide to give you hints.
That was that was the secret. They made games obtuse on purpose so that they could sell you a strategy guide.
Also for like rentals, right? Like you have to keep renting it.
Yep. So,
but it's all very interesting, I think, to look at those lenses. And I think there are some exceptions to the rule, though, when it comes to the classics. Like, people have their hot takes, like, oh, actually, that game wasn't that great. But I think there's still like a universal opinion, like Chrono Trigger is a great JRPG. I don't think that's ever going to be outdated, right?
Right. Yeah, we are. I think it was it Something Classic, the indie developer, had tweeted like, now that Chrono Trigger is back in the discourse, can't wait, get ready for the actually Chrono Trigger wasn't any good tweets to start coming. And it's like, I started seeing those.
I mean, there's always going to be contrarians. So
always, because they want to be different. Yeah.
I'm not like other girls, that sort of thing.
Exactly. I'm a unicorn.
Are you not, Brandon?
I'm not. I'm different. But I mean, like, it's aside from like the modern aesthetic of things, like there are elements to classic JRPGs that I think go beyond just the visual presentation and things like that might draw people more to them, particularly if they have experience with them outside of just nostalgia, right? Yes. Like one thing that I know we were thinking about was like the scope of games. If you look at the scope of your average JRPG nowadays, even if it's not an open world game, it's still a 80, 90, 100 hour experience with so many side quests, a lot of which are just like copy paste type of side quests that you do that are meant to hook you. Like they're designed in a way to make you keep playing, give you those little shots of dopamine and reward you. And older games didn't do that. I don't think they didn't do it out of the kindness of their hearts because they didn't want to do that. I think they would have loved to do that, but they couldn't because they had like limitations on cart size and stuff.
And budget.
And budget. Like a Super Nintendo cartridge could only hold so much. And they had a team of 12 people spending a year and a half on this game. Like it's not going to be this massive thing.
They're also competing with other genres, right? That are much more bite size. And to say, oh, you can play this for 100 hours. Like, no, why would I do that? I want to just play Mario or something where
I
have
could
to do
play
a level and I'm
15
done.
games in that time. Like
Exactly.
I could have all this fun while you're grinding or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you prefer those like shorter, more easily digestible type of JRPGs, then I think that even supersedes nostalgia. It's like you just like those kinds of games. And I think that's one thing that like Expedition 33 did really well was even though it's like modern in every way, it is to the point. Like you can mess around and do some side things and you can extend your playtime. But like you can get through that. I think it was like 30 hours for me.
I did 28 hours.
Something right around there. Like
same here.
You can go through it quickly and it feels satisfying. It feels I would say satisfying in a similar way to like old games, like how old games would feel to me. So there's something, I think there's something to that, you know?
Yeah. Giving you the option is always key. Like I think nowadays in these scopes, like, cause like, we get a lot of games, especially us being like Trails fans and, or things like games like Octopath Traveler 0, which is like crazy long.
100 hours. Yeah.
And there's like so much you can do in that game. The scope of that game is massive. There's so much side content. There's so much like just
so many characters,
so many characters that you're running through. And so like,
well, and that's finish your thought, but I just want to say real quick, Octopath 0 is like most of that runtime is conversation, is dialogue.
Yeah.
Because like
really is.
the battles,
really
because I had the battles turned up to full speed and they're so much
too.
faster than any other the other two Octopath games. So like most of that 100-hour runtime is just like story. So like it's a big story.
Yeah,
especially if you talk to all the NPCs, you know, and you want to recruit them and get all the items. So like
get all their
adds up.
path actions. Yeah.
Because like every side quest or every like interaction with a person in that game is not just like a quick little, you know, conversation. It's like a back and forth for like, you know, an hour that you're going back and forth. You're going from place to place. You're dealing with all these different things. And so like they really scripted that game like no other. Like it felt
lived in, like a lived in world, right? Which I think as a kid, I always envisioned, like that's how I got into MMOs. I felt like, you know, I wanted these, you know, fantasy worlds or whatever to be something we could live in and interact with, because that was like, you know, the next dimension of like, you know, as a kid, you know, who read a lot of, you know, fiction growing up. Video games were a cool transition to, you know, have an interactive world you could play around with. But in MMO, like you lived in that world. There was so many cool things you can go and explore and, you know, NPCs to talk to. And I do feel like sometimes you get a little lost in the sauce, right? When there's just so many things you could do. Whereas the classic JRPGs, they were more to the point. Like, sure, you could talk to NPCs, you could explore the world, you can grind to, you know, level up your characters, but you know, had a very linear plot that didn't overstay its welcome usually.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Like, I feel like maybe my aversion or like lack of interest in talking to NPCs comes from growing up with classic JRPGs where, sure, you could talk to the NPCs and they would have like a sentence to say and whatever. It's not all that interesting to me, at least. So like, I just kind of developed that, I don't know, mentality where it's like, I don't want to do that. I want to just play the story. Yeah. And I also, I want to say, get to the plot, man. And also I want to say too about Octopath, like the interesting thing about Octopath and Zero in particular, but all of them really, is they're designed to visually sort of remind you of classic games. Yeah. But in terms of their like story presentation and some elements of their design, they are very modern. They're decidedly modern. So it's a really interesting like dichotomy where you can see, there's more to the classicness of these games than just the way they looked. There's a lot more to it that defines them as different, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Because like if you look at even the classic games, not only is it the scope of money, the scope of time that they have to produce these, but it's the scope of what they can actually put like physically in a scene. So hardware scope, like let's say 16-bit SNES era, there was only so many characters you can put on us like per like, you know, conversational box. Like you're stuck with whatever. And that's why you had very primitive, like if you go back to the NES, SNES, like it's very primitive storytelling in terms of very concise sentences that might not have like the blemishes that you'd see or like the like, you know, when you see
personality, the
flair from like Octopath Traveler 0, and it's like you have all those like very like theatrical style of like, you know, conversations and discussions and anything like that. You don't see that back then. It was very like utilitarian, like script writing, because you can only fit so much.
Get to the point too.
Well, and that's
to
and
convey
like
your idea.
And it was, you know, even it was maybe more complex in Japanese, but like the Japanese language can convey ideas with far fewer characters than in English. So
much
like they were really restricted. It's like you have this character limit. You need to somehow convey the same idea and ideally do it in a way that's entertaining to read. But that was always a secondary thing back in the day, right? Like making it entertaining and good writing was like a secondary. If you can make it good, great, but that's not important. Like you just need to get the information across.
Just the facts, man. Just the facts.
Like looking at Breath of Fire back in the day.
Oh my gosh, I was just thinking that. Yeah, I was just thinking about
just terrible.
Like Breath of Fire 2 was so poorly localized that there were like they gave you wrong information, so they occasionally even failed at that just the facts portion of it. But yeah,
it was a very different time for us, like, you know, JRPG lovers in that era, is because like, first off, a game was not necessarily going to be localized or translated for us. So like there's many games we didn't get. And at the same time, when it was translated, it was like, you know, not always the best, because like they had one guy working on a whole game.
They had one guy for 2 months locked in a closet with a spreadsheet localizing this game. It just made me think that like I think it's good that I and Dala, you and Emily to an extent, but you were kind of a little bit in the PS2, like little things were starting to improve then. But like Dala and I in particular, it was like, it's good that we were kids when we were playing JRPGs, because I think our imaginations, our youthful imaginations, filled in so many of the gaps that are just there in like the JRPG localization and the kind of limited scope of storytelling that they had back then. Because if I was an adult in the late 80s, early 90s, I don't know if I would have gotten into them. You know, like they've grown with us, right? And that's one of the interesting things about modern gaming is like I have expectations for games now that I never would have had for games when I was a teenager because they've grown with me. And so I need them to do other things now. And
that's interesting.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Like I was thinking, like I grew up with Pokemon, which, you know, very primitive storytelling, no voice acting. Like it was mostly me playing. That was like the point of it, right? Which I guess is video games in a nutshell. But I feel like for modern games, we want to be entertained, you know, kind of adjacent to other entertainment forms. Like we usually want voice acting, some really cool cutscenes, you know, and also like flashy combat. Like we want to have all of these visual and audio, you know, sensations so that we feel a sense of immersion, like we want to play this instead of watch a movie or watch a TV show, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like how our expectations have shifted. Like as an adult, I don't know if I would have picked up, you know, Pokemon Silver and be like, oh, this is fun. Is it? Like to be clear, I love Silver, but again, that might be more nostalgia speaking than anything else.
I honestly wonder if I wasn't already into JRPGs, if I you know had gone and picked up Final Fantasy 2 or 4 on the Super Nintendo, would it have resonated with me? Like as a kid, it was the coolest freaking thing I'd ever seen, but as an adult, like I don't know. Like I'm really thankful for a lot of the remakes, remasters. Like I don't think I would have ever played Dragon Quest 2 without the remake. And that really, you know, changed things with the voice acting, the graphical style, also the combat. Like, I think I don't know if I would have finished the game if I just played the original. No, that's the good thing, I think. One of the good things about modern remakes of these really old classic games is they can take the essence of the game, the things that are great about it, and grow them up, like we talked about, like we were saying, with them, you know, the game's growing with us. They can age them up or whatever, however you want to put it, to a modern audience, right? Dragon Quest II, the remake, if you just break it down in terms of like mechanics and what happens, it's fairly different, than the original game. Yeah. But it still has the core, like
classic
the essence
roots
of it is there. And I think that's what remakes need to do. It's doing the one-to-one is not always the best idea. Sometimes it works out. Mario RPG remake was great because that game was already pretty great. So that's
just graphically, changed.
Yeah,
really.
just like change the graphics, make it modern. That's cool. Add a few bells and whistles. But yeah.
Another good example, I think, is Star Ocean 2, the remake that no one I feel like doesn't get as much,
It's a little underplayed for sure.
It was a little flash in the pan kind of when it came out, and then
but it's like truly is like a wonderful like a way to remake that game, because it's like not only I think it's like very much a graphical remake. A lot of the underlying game mechanics and story like beats are all basically there. It's very much true to the original game. They've just kind of made it more modern in terms of graphical and quality of life stuff. And it just like goes to show that you can make these experiences really good from a modern perspective.
You can. And there's some games that I think don't need as many adjustments. Like I don't think Chrono Trigger needed that many adjustments.
No, not really.
And I think the Lunar HD collection, like that didn't need many adjustments other than, speed up the battles and some of the auto battling.
The one adjustment I wanted them to do that they didn't do though was the item management.
Oh, the inventory management is a little. That's
for me,
where
wasn't too bad, but I don't know.
In my mind, that's like the thing that aged the most poorly. But it's fine.
I guess I didn't notice it when I was playing at least the first game. I still need to play the sequel.
But I mean, it's the same thing as like just what Dragon Quest does in a modern way too. Not as intense as Lunar because it's just product of the time. But I don't like. I never enjoyed having to like micromanage each person.
I always think about it like Earthbound is the game that comes to my mind as the one where it's like, we've come a long way when it comes to inventory management from this game.
I feel like
it makes it a little bit hard to go back to.
It's interesting because like Earthbound is a very beloved game to a lot of people.
I love it.
Mechanically, there's like we've come a long way since Earthbound. I mean, if you think about it from a mechanics perspective and then the systems, but there's still that nostalgia for the love of that game. A lot of it has to do with story too, because that game is like very different for the time.
Yeah,
for sure. And just like looking at it with appreciation, like we were talking about, like you can look at things fondly, even if we didn't either grow up in that era, we never experienced it.
And that's what makes it interesting is like, we were talking about Chrono Trigger being like, people can go back and now like, a kid can go back and play Chrono Trigger and be like, yes, this is actually a good JRPG. And I don't see that always being the case with Earthbound, oddly enough.
Sure.
Like, I think it's a product
it's a steeper hill to climb. Yeah.
Yeah. Even though it's an amazing game, there's a lot of things that don't sit well with people who are more used to like modern or even since the PS2 era, like mechanics and
I haven't tried it myself.
Stuff.
I've been a little intimidated after hearing it's kind of like I
love the game, but
if you think Earthbound is tough to get back into, I was trying to get through Earthbound 0 or Mother 1.
Oh yeah,
that's even steeper climb. Like,
I think there's always going to be media like that.
Yeah,
it was designed for an era. And sometimes it doesn't always, travel with us. Well,
that's true. There's a lot of lost media out there that just never traveled because it never picked up.
Never had like a cult following,
Yep.
Yeah.
Like I think a lot of these so-called classics that people still talk about today, they were favorites back then. There are some that, they're later to adopt as a favorite, but like it wasn't that long since it had come out, right? And then developed a cult following and then they are still talked about today. Like I'm playing Final Fantasy VI, the Pixel Master version, but I've been enjoying the heck out of it. It's been fun. Yeah. And I can see why it's resonated with so many people, even though it's not like, the most complex JRPG. It's still fun though.
Yeah.
I like the fun factor. Yeah.
Yeah. I like to compare it to the music like people's idea of music and like genres and generations of music, where everyone's like, well, music used to be great in the 70s and the 80s.
Right.
And then you're like, yeah, like, because the ones we know that came out, like the ones we know of today are the good ones, but there was so much.
They stuck around. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so
true.
much terrible music from the 70s and 80s that like didn't stick around, that like you go back and you're like,
talk about the winners.
Yeah.
Same with stock picks.
Exactly.
We talk about the winners, not our losers.
No, exactly. It's like there's like you see a lot of discourse around like, yeah, like they're not as good as they used to be. And I'm just like, yeah, like of course. Like, you know, when you look back at Led Zeppelin and those kind of like iconic bands that like did survive the time and stuff like that, but like
maybe still going.
Well, and if you're yeah, you can't compare like a Beatles classic to like some random pop song from today, right? Like they're not doing the same things, and like, you know, there are some pop songs today that are going to stand the test of time, and generations from now, people are going to be like, "Oh, that's a classic." But like
that was when
most of
music
them
was good.
Most of them won't, right? Like that's just the way art is.
Yeah,
the good stuff rises to the top, and that's what we see.
Same with you know, classic literature. There was plenty of probably slop back then that just is not published anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So like when you're thinking about gaming and you're like, oh, well, classics were, you know, that was the greatest generation ever, 16-bit or like 32-bit, whatever you want to talk about. And you're like, yeah, that's true to an extent. Maybe there was a lot of good ones, but there's a lot of bad ones too. Yeah,
you have to, you know, the diamonds in the rough, right? Like you are, the diamonds shine brightest against, you know, the duller kind of things that are also in the same pile. I don't know, but that there's a nice little analogy there.
I see what you're getting at. Yeah,
I liked your version of it anyway. So that's really
whatever it is. But sorry, it is early for me.
Yeah,
we are recording this early.
Emily's barely here, guys. Barely.
Hey,
she's
I
doing
say
great.
way too late.
She's doing a great job. I know.
Play some things.
I mean, we're all barely. We're here.
Hey, I am in an earlier time zone.
Mm-hmm. She's in the past right now, Dalla. Don't forget.
That's true.
We're letting her know the things that are coming.
It's not looking good. It's not looking good, Emily.
Bad news for you. It's not.
Modern gaming's just going downhill.
2 hours from now, it's
going to be 2 hours from you. It's not great.
No.
Yeah. So like scope is one thing. I'm trying to think of like another big category of why somebody might prefer a classic over like a modern game.
Some of it has to do with there's some characters, right? And plots that really resonate, I think, with some people from previous games. And we kind of talked about this a little bit. Like there are a lot of rehashes, right? Of the same sort of thing. It's just more details maybe added or more personalities being added. Whereas like when you experience the original, you're able to, you know, take what it was and maybe in your own like mind, you know, add to it, add some flavor, some jazz to it.
Yeah.
And that's what stuck with you for a long time, right? It's what you always compare things to. And sometimes you put it up on a pedestal, maybe higher than it should be, but that's okay. That's like what your favorite is.
Yeah. And I feel like kind of to go off the idea of like the music bit and like just general media is that back then with, you know, leading back into the scope, leading back to everything like that, there was way more, it was an early age of JRPGs. So like there wasn't a set standard of like how you make a JRPG or what to expect from the storylines and things like that. What's the formula?
They were creating the formula. Yeah,
exactly. So they took a lot more chances with style of games. Like you have games like Codelco that you probably you don't see those kind of games nowadays. No. Like there's so much, like they were testing things out, whether it worked or it didn't. They at least tested them out and they were trying new things. Where modern gaming now is very systematic. I mean, at the end of the day, you're adhering to the money. Like you have to make money off of this. If it doesn't succeed, you're not going to get funded for your next game, or the dev team might be let go or whatever it is. Where you see that like in this modern day, it's like it's kind of like a negative connotation around experimentation because there's too much risk in that. Even if we look at the indie scene, which, you know, is usually known for taking more risks. Yes.
They still usually have some sort of very familiar foundation, whether it's the style or the story progression, but they just alter one thing they think would be cool to like see in games.
Yeah.
So they are sort of, you know, maybe not going all in on an experimentation, but you know, dabbling.
Yeah, you see a lot of the popular like indie JRPGs tend to kind of latch on to something classic,
and
like
sometimes like marketing, right?
Chrono
it's
Trigger,
like, this is going to be the next Chrono Trigger, or
Exactly.
Final Fantasy VI, or something. Like they sometimes have to do that as a marketing standpoint to get people interested.
Yeah.
But there's a twist. There always
What's
has to be a twist. Like otherwise, you just play those games, right? You play Chrono Trigger, you play Final Fantasy VI.
Which in a way kind of bums me out a little bit. Like I feel there have been some really good, well done indie games that I've played that get criticized for not making some random big swing, just like taking a formula that has worked and doing something really cool with it. You're like, well, this is like the combat's real standard. It's like, so what? Like there's so many other things about the game that are great. So like this one thing, it's not even that they're saying it's bad. They're just saying that it's not unique. It's like, well, you know, I wouldn't necessarily hold those sorts of games up in the highest levels of esteem if they're not doing anything unique. Like, but they could still be really good and
if you look at AA, AAA, like what unique things are they doing in the JRPG space?
Yeah, and the unique things that they try to do
stuff.
The unique things they try to do often like make us mad. We're like, oh, I wish they wouldn't have done that.
Look at Final Fantasy.
Yeah. Let's make it an action game, guys. Nobody will be upset. Nobody will be mad about that.
No, exactly.
Back in the day, you know, the tropes that we see as tropes in JRPGs today, they weren't tropes yet. They weren't, I mean, maybe they were tropes in other media, but like, especially as a little American kid in the Midwest,
it was new to you.
I didn't know them. So it was all exciting and new. And yeah, a lot of those tropes have been recycled since then in JRPGs. And I can kind of roll my eyes at that now. But at the time, it was like, this is so cool. This is the newest, coolest thing I've ever seen. And I love it.
100%. Yeah. But I mean, honestly, like with modern gaming, there is still a lot to love, like a lot to love in modern JRPGs. I think like we need to talk about that a little bit. Like
I think that to weigh this a little bit evenly, I agree.
Yeah. So like,
because we're still fans of modern gaming or modern JRPGs, that is.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at like, you know, more recently when I played Like a Dragon, which is all in all like a modern JRPG because that was their first JRPG that RGG made. And it like calls back to fun like Dragon Quest aspects and things like that. But it's like it's its own little world, and it's like the creative writing around it, all these different things that they're doing, and that's like it's fun. There's like a lot of that to love. So I mean, what do you guys think about modern
There's also
in
like innovation in combat too. Like look at Trails, like doing the hybrid system. We never saw that back then. Like I think there's still a lot of interesting things you could do in modern games that we still haven't seen yet. I think there's going to be some new game, you know, years to come. It's going to catch us all by surprise. Be like, this is, you know, the best thing since sliced bread. Expedition 33 was that for some people, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which was cool. Like it obviously was inspired, you know, by previous games, but they made it their own, which, you know, was inspiring.
Exactly.
Yeah. The benefits of modern games like far outweigh in my mind the downsides, like when you compare it to the classics. Like I am of the opinion that games have just gotten better. And I hesitate to say objectively because obviously everything's
subjective,
but
everything.
Like in a lot of measurable ways, like they have gotten better. Again, depending on how you feel about it, like games have gotten bigger. Your bang for your buck is for people that are concerned about, you know, I don't want to pay $70 for a 15-hour game. That's not enough time. To me, that doesn't make sense. But like, you know, if it's JRPGs, you are getting a lot of value for your time. You know what I mean? You're getting a lot of time out of that $70.
Exactly.
So that's, I think, not a bad thing, especially when a lot of that content is optional. Like there's so much more content packed into JRPGs now that you are allowed to engage with if you want to.
Exactly.
Side quests are side quests for a reason.
Yeah, if you're not feeling it, totally fine, bro. Do what you want. But like, if you want to spend 100 hours in this world and do stuff that makes you stronger or just makes you feel good, teaches you more about the world or whatever, do it. 100%. Go for it. So I think
also
that's
modern
good.
games also value your time more. Like I think there's been a lot of, with the difficulty settings and options, as well as maybe eliminating the need to grind at all.
Yes.
There's been, I think that has been more popular in modern games than ever before.
Yeah. It's less grindy because like, I feel like, with classic games, you had to kind of pad it in some sort of way because
level up so you could get past whatever hurdle.
And that was like a product of all types of gaming back in the NES, SNES phase, is like, if you played these platformers and they didn't have any sort of like aspect that was going to make you, I guess, die constantly, the game would be like 10 minutes long, like 15 minutes long sometimes. Right. So like they would have to artificially create these like frustrating like difficulty spikes, or in JRPG perspective is like these areas that you'd have to spend hours grinding to get to the next sequence, to just make it worth your while.
Well, the elimination of grinding is an interesting thing too, because like back in the day, they didn't have as many levers to pull from a development standpoint, right? Like the battle systems weren't complex enough that if you were quote unquote under leveled, you could still manage to like squeak out a victory over some big boss. And I mean, that's only true to an extent. Like if you watch speedrunners, which I love watching speedrunners, break classic JRPGs, like not necessarily glitch them, but like play in such a outside of the box, unusual way that they can do a level one. They can do a level one playthrough of a game and like beat everything. And it's like, how did you do that? That's crazy. And they didn't break the game at all. They just played it interestingly. But for the most part, and most people were not going to understand that and play those games that way. So they didn't have. So the only thing they could do is like, well, we need the game to get harder, so we're just going to set this boss's level at 25 and your characters are probably 18 to 20 when they get here. You're going to need to grind. Now, battle systems in modern games, like they're so much more complex and layered that grinding is less necessary just because you have more options to fight. If it's an action RPG, you can just get good, right? Like you don't necessarily have to level up. If you just master the gameplay, then you can take down a higher level boss, even being a low level, because you're just good at the game. In turn-based games, like there are so many more options. Thinking in Trails, like the way you set your orbment loadout makes an enormous difference in how the actual game plays. Exactly. So there are so many other ways, other levers to pull to, surmount that problem compared to the old days when grinding was kind of it.
Yeah. I think modern games have really tried their hardest to eliminate any sort of frustrations or barriers to people, right? Because there's so much competition nowadays. Like people don't have to keep playing your game or buying your game. Like they're frustrated, right? They could move on to something else and not, support your studio anymore. Right. So they have to be very conscious of that, I think.
Yeah. I do.
There are like, and then there are the occasional games or studios that bake the frustration in as part of their core game design for people that like, I guess, are nostalgic for
that's
frustration.
Their core audience that they're catering
it's like
to.
Like the Dark Souls formula, right? Where it's like you are going to die and die and die and die, and that's part of the game.
But they have made it easier, right? I feel like over time, like Elden Ring, they've introduced new classes and new ways to level up faster. So new players, it's more welcoming.
Exactly.
To new players.
It's frustrating in a way that is not the way that it was frustrating back in the day. It's frustrating in just a different way, and they give you so many options to, and that's why I never understood when people are like, well, I can't play Elden Ring, it's too hard. It's like, well, there's so many ways to play it though. Like find a way that is fun for you. And there's like if you try all of the hundreds of different ways of playing and you still don't like it, I guess it's not for you. But like, there's a lot of different ways to play that game that kind of eliminate that argument that it's too hard.
Yeah, and those barriers that it's too hard.
No, I agree. Elden Ring, I mean, for me, was substantially easier. I wouldn't say it's easy. Still hard, hard game.
Still a hard game, sure.
But I mean, it gives you options. Like if you get stuck in one place, you can kind of be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go this way now. I'm gonna see what I can find over here." So that was like the beauty of Elden Ring, is that like it wasn't linear. So like you didn't have to stay stuck where you were.
Yeah.
Like when I was playing Cold Vein 2 earlier this year, which is the Bandai Namco's version of Elden Ring. Instead of just publishing it, they tried to develop something similar, but more of a JRPG slant. But yeah, like for the most part, it wasn't difficult to move through the story. It's just some of the ending bosses were kind of frustrating. You hit your head on the against the monitor kind of thing. But there are definitely different tricks. Like eventually I figured out like, oh, it would be easier if I went about the combat this way. If I added this, buff or I use this weapon instead, this makes it a little bit easier. And so whether or not, people want to, go through those, that trial, if you will, to try to get to that point is up to them. But that was that late game. Like, I feel like if people, just stop there, they would still feel like satisfied. Like, okay, I made a lot of progress. I played a lot of this game, and they felt good about it. And whether or not they want to endure, the frustration to get past the last hurdle, that's up to them. But I feel like that's a lot of JRPGs too. Like a lot of JRPGs, they have a difficulty spike, right? Like even some modern games have that.
And I was just trying to think of some examples because obviously, Elden Ring and Dark Souls are Western RPGs developed.
Bravely Default, right? The first one does not have a difficulty spike. We talked about Star Ocean Second Story R. That has a difficulty spike at the end. Like it's not new, right?
Right. Yeah, and I'm wondering if there's other games too that like bake that sort of frustration into their DNA. If that's like part of the design philosophy.
Well, it's SMT. That's SMT.
That's a good call. Yeah.
And then Disgaea too. There's that.
The
too.
Disgaea series. And like you said, Emily, they've made them respect your time more while still giving you that sweet frustration that you crave.
That tension, right? Where it's not you're just walking through it. But also they've done the same thing with difficulty levels. Like you could do nightmare mode on Trails, for example, or the draconian thing for one of the Dragon Quest games, or what was in Tactics, the tactician level. Yes. If you want to feel more of that tension, if you feel like you already mastered the combat, here's a level higher if you want to test your skills, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah,
people tend to think of frustration as just an inherently negative thing, but in certain games and for certain people, that's actually like a selling point. It's fun.
I feel like to overcome something.
This game kicked my butt. Now I'm gonna be smarter and I'm gonna kick its butt right back.
And I show it. I can do one up over you.
It's like. It just reminds me of like the younger days when you were playing like Ninja Gaiden on NES and like it actively that game actively hated you.
It did. Yes, it did.
But like, despite it doing that, like when you did overcome and beat levels and beat the game, you're just like, as a kid, you're like,
sweet victory.
You threw it in in the face of your friends. You're like, I did this. This was me.
Yes.
True.
On the schoolyard.
Exactly.
The same thing with platinum trophies these days, right? People are like, they show I mastered this game because I platinumed it. This shows my love for it because I endured all the frustrating things to get this platinum.
Yeah, certain games more so than others with the frustration. Like
for sure,
you're going to grind out every character to level 99. Oh my god!
Or you have to replay this in nightmare mode and beat it in this time span.
Oh yeah.
That's exactly why I'm not a trophy hunter. I do not want to do that.
I don't need that much attention, if you will, when playing games.
Life is already hard enough. Come on, give me a break.
Yeah, I feel like I used to try for trophies back in the day, and then it dawned on me one day that I was just like, "This is not fun."
It's not fun. I'm just playing this over and over. I'm not having fun here.
When trophies were introduced to PlayStation, I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna try," because I hear people talking about it. And no, I did not last long. I was like, "Forget it."
I like it when trophies like are meaningful around the gameplay. Like there's some there's some games that do trophies that are just like, I don't want to do this. This is like the most masochistic way to play. Like I don't want to hate my experience. I want to like it. Like some of these trophies are just like kind of ridiculous, or you're just like by the end you're just like, this is the worst game I've ever played. Why did I do this to myself?
Just torture.
Yeah, it's like pure torture.
Feel
like ruins the experience.
But for other people, totally understand.
For those,
that's the appeal.
That's the thing.
That's the
like
appeal.
Pain.
That's
like
it.
Pain.
Yeah,
because I have
and it would like a game that I would like this breezy, easy. They would hate that. So I get it. Different stories.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, one of my close friends from back in the day, he was like, that was his thing. Like he loved just grinding and getting through these moments.
Which friend is it? One I know.
No, I mean, I haven't seen him in years. We're not really. We don't talk
it's
anymore.
not that
You're
good.
no longer friends.
No longer friends. But like,
No longer friends because of this.
yeah, exactly. This was like, this is the point.
He kept flashing his trophies at you.
And I was like, I cannot take this kind of shame.
And I overturned that table in that Denny's and I stormed out of there and never looked back.
That's true. It might have been at a Denny's, actually. I don't know. The probability I was eating, what is a Denny's?
Fast casual. I don't know.
One of their meals. I forgot the burgers. Like they had like these breakfast burger thingies.
Yeah.
I've only had breakfast. Yeah. At Denny's. They have a breakfast burger. It's been years since I've been.
Fun fact, go to a Denny's in Japan.
That's not a fact.
I've seen them. I never went to one, but I've seen them.
It's a different experience.
I just gotta say that's not a fact. You gotta what?
I said a fun fact. Just go there and order, and they have on their menu Denny's house wine.
Okay, there's a fact. Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you said fun fact, go to Denny's in Japan. I was like, that's a command.
Things, right?
That's not a fact.
In Japan.
I was getting to that, Brandon, and then you cut me off. You're like,
It's just a fact. I don't want to hear this fact.
I was building to that moment.
You were. I apologize. I stepped on your fact.
You did.
House
You
wine
did.
is great.
Denny's
Denny's house
that.
wine, that's incredible. I love
It's
that.
not-
Well,
it's not- it's
it
not
fits right
great.
into. I'm sure it's terrible.
It's terrible.
It fits into their family restaurant. It's kind of subculture over there, right? Like,
Yeah.
Denny's is
the
that.
house
and-
wine is the thing there.
No,
Yeah.
exactly.
Nothing I want to try.
And they love family restaurant.
Well, you get the
style
curry
converses.
there, right?
Yeah, and the
Absolutely.
hamburger steaks.
Hamburg steak. Love
Hamburger
that.
steak. Yeah, good stuff. But yeah,
I don't know what we were talking about.
I don't know.
I think we kind of gone
Modern
a
and
little
classics.
off topic of how, modern games have, they've played around with the difficulty levels as to be more appealing, I think, to more players because there's just so many, other forms of media people could spend their time with. And they're trying to make, people this a more appealing genre, which I think they've succeeded. Like people still say JRPGs are super niche, but we have more than ever like games from this genre. Like I feel like we're always inundated every year now with all these JRPGs. There's obviously people who are interested in them. You even have a whole podcast on them. Like
Right.
Wait, there's one?
there's
podcasts
at least
on
one.
I've never heard of it.
I think there's like 10. But yeah, it's a bigger thing. I was just trying to think, are there any genres that are more niche now than JRPGs?
Visual
There's gotta
novels,
be.
maybe.
Visual
The ends
novels,
definitely
sure.
are.
Yeah.
I would say like
I think shoot 'em ups are still pretty niche.
shoot 'em ups like old school like side.
Yeah,
and,
you don't see
and
new ones as much.
horizontal,
Oh,
vertical shoot 'em ups.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Anyway.
very niche.
I think Metroidvanias have emerged as a more popular genre in recent times. Like they used to be pretty niche.
They
But
were
they're
very
not-
niche, and now every indie studio
Every
has
indie game
is
at
a
least
Metroidvania.
one Metroidvania. Yeah.
Yeah, roguelites used to be niche as well, and that's
That's true. And I got
That's
popularized
now it's
as well.
everything. what I think what became niche and used to be popular was RTS games.
Oh, yeah, that's a good-
Real time strategy was very popular back in the day even on the PC and everything. There was there was a dime a dozen. There were so many different kinds that you can choose from. Nowadays, there's like a handful out there that come out every once in a while. Like it's not as big as it used to be.
But you say MMOs, like there's a few huge MMOs that are still popular, but the number of MMOs I think have dialed down. Because a lot of people have moved on to other games, or
you have to be able to compete with Final Fantasy 14 or World of Warcraft, and if you can't, you're not going to survive. So I think
the bubble
everybody's
burst on
kind
that
of
one.
picked their MMO and they've settled down. They've bought homes, they've raised families. Like they're
that's true. That's true.
In game too.
In game as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, JRPGs no longer a niche for dweebs. That's the tagline that we'll put out there to the world. We are the cool kids now, at least in our own minds.
And I think just the beauty of this genre is we have a huge catalog to go backwards with.
Yeah.
And again, that's why I think the remakes and remasters have been pretty nice, so that people who never got to experience those classic stories, those classic characters, those classic worlds get to re-experience them, but more in a modern setting, if you will, with quality of life enhancements or graphical upgrades,
or just the ability to
play it,
because like
not everyone emulates,
Yeah,
no one wants to. A lot of those games didn't sell like a billion copies, right?
Exactly.
Back in the day, if you want to, own them.
And not everybody has like an SNES handy and a CRT to play that SNES on. That's going to be a good experience. And they don't want to spend like, let's say, upwards of $400 to $500 on Chrono Trigger. And or let's not even get into Earthbound, how much that is. So I mean, the more remakes or the remasters that we get of these games that make them appealing, then you get your pick. You can either go classic or modern.
Yeah, I think so.
Try them all. Try them all.
Try them all.
At the end of the day.
If you don't like the new version that they come out with, the old one will always be there.
That's true.
You'll access it somehow.
Go play that old version.
Exactly. Yes. It's not a replacement. It is an option.
Yep.
It's an option. It could be a replacement if you decide to just play one version of it, like your personal replacement. But it will always exist. Always exist. All the
exactly.
forms.
Yeah. Your experience will always be there if you go back to it. So
that's right.
I feel like that was a good conversation. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think so. I enjoyed it as well.
I think we've plumbed the depths of it for now, at least. Maybe
we'll have to hear
visit
what
in the future.
Yeah, everyone else thinks about classic like JRPGs. If they have some similar sentiments, if there's some facet we didn't touch on that maybe we can in a future episode.
Yeah, let us know so we can. Part 2 of this discussion could be
modern
along those lines.
versus classics.
And let us know what classics you think have aged the best in your perspective that like really harkens to what modern gaming is doing, and then also
or appeals to modern gamers. I would say
appeals to modern gamers, and let us know what you think. Which one's your cup of tea?
Yeah, but that's it for now. Thanks to all of our channel members for helping support our little show here. We appreciate it greatly. And our Pursuer members will have an after show after this. And we also want to advertise, we'll be doing another spoiler cast. A lot of you liked our Trails Through Daybreak one. Sorry, not Trails Beyond the Horizon one. Part 3 of Trails Beyond Through Daybreak. Anyways.
Yes.
But that one I think was a nice success. And we plan on doing one for Digimon Story Time Stranger at the end of the month / early April. So
very soon.
Yes.
Very soon. My schedule is going to be thrown off because I'm going to be at PAX East at the end of this month.
Right.
So things are getting a little topsy-turvy. We're going to have to front load some episodes, or you guys are going to have to kick me out and find a guest or something. But we'll figure that out.
No.
Yeah.
We'll find some way to make it work.
Yeah.
We'll make it work.
All right. Bye.
Yes.
Anyways.
All right.
Cut the episode there.
Just there. Bye.
Done. Bye.
I'm over it. Bye.
Yeah.
But yeah, stay tuned for that spoiler cast. Hope you guys will like it when it does drop. Should be
and
fun.
if you are currently playing it, be fun to have conversations about the game. And the new DLC waves have been dropping. I think the newest one just came out, wave 3.
Yep, wave 3.
I'm planning on playing it on stream next week, actually. So
good. That's fun.
Yeah, because I haven't done any of the DLC stuff yet. So I want to revisit it. It was one of my favorite games from last year.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I want to be fresh before we do our spoiler cast.
I've been dabbling back into it a little bit just to kind of remind myself. So
Yeah.
But anyways, thanks everyone for tuning in. And until next week, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody.